Well, good morning. What I have on planned for today's videos is first a tour of the kiln room because, well, it's something really to be proud of. Northern Clay Center has a great kiln room and facilities. And then later on, I will do some glazing and talk about the glaze bake because that's really cool. And finally, some decorating things. And that should be pretty fun. So let me turn the camera around. Uh-oh. How do I turn the camera around? There we go. So the kiln room has a set of electric kilns along that wall. And, oh, good, Kirsten, you're there because I want Nan to see all of this. And then we have a set of 4 gas kilns going down this side. There's one dead kiln there. And because we get new kilns regularly. Hey, Kaylee, how we doing? This stuff here is kiln furniture. These are shelves. And the shelves that have these hollow spots can take high heat. So can these thick shelves. But these thin shelves, if they got too hot, would bend. And that's one thing that's missing in period kilns is they didn't have this technology for furniture. And up here are various posts of various heights to stack the shelves. So first, when pottery is being fired, the first firing is called the bisque firing, and that's done in an electric kiln, primarily because they're super simple. We have 3 very big kilns. Rotating doesn't work. And they can handle 2 end pieces and a middle. And that'll make more sense when we go take a look at the kiln that I've actually done. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 general kilns. Though there's one, and this one is fairly new, but it needs to be worked on. Smaller kilns. And this is the kiln having the pots that we did on the throwing demo. And you notice this is only 2 end pieces, and they're actually smaller than the ends of those other kilns. So, there's also a very little guy, and he's an old kiln because it's done using a cone, and I'll have to explain cones later because they're kind of funky. And the new ones are computerized. And I'll run through how the computer kilns work on another demo as well. On this side, we have the big soda kiln, and we'll look on the inside of the small soda kiln. We have the big, let's see, I got to get back here, gas kiln, and that, the door opens sliding on a track, notice. Oh, and each of the chimneys is slightly different, and these are just decorative. The kiln makers wanted to have cool looking chimneys, but there's a sleeve on the inside, so the outside decoration really doesn't matter. This is the small gas kiln, which is about the same size, actually a little bit, about the same size as the big soda kiln. And this is the little soda kiln. If we take a look on the inside, you'll see that the bricks are a different color than the outside brick because these have been fired, and soda has already started to build up on the bricks. You have the draft hole, where the smoke is going to go out. And on the sides, that's where the flame comes in. And these bricks that are on the sides are called a bag wall. Why it's called a bag wall, I don't know. Let's go around back and take a look at burners. So that's the end of the burner. And when firing, the flame goes into that hole. There are sensors down here that show whether or not heat is being produced. And if heat is not being produced, it turns off the emergency cutoff valve. And there's a burner on the other side as well. And these have forced air behind them so that they will shoot more flame into the space. And there's all sorts of cutoffs. There's that one. There's those. So it's a very secure, safe process. In the back of the chimney, there's a damper that controls how fast the air goes out. Because these kilns do something called reduction firing, meaning there's not enough oxygen for the amount of fuel that's in there. So the glazes and the clay itself actually have oxygen pulled out of them. If you remember your high school chemistry, there are redox reactions, reduction reactions that take oxygen away. And this little thing right here is a pyrometer. It reads the temperature inside the kiln. The one challenge, and that's where the pyrometer reader is actually in the kiln, but it's only a temperature at one spot. Let's see. Anything else that's interesting? The shelves are different in the big kilns. They're a black material rather than white. The surface is covered with a non-stick coating called kiln wash. I don't know if that's even worth talking about much. And let's see. Oh, I'm sorry for moving things around. Any questions? I can't think of much. Nan, is there anything else that I should look at? One other thing. The kilns here are done on a checkout system, and we have a wall of calendars to sign things out on. And oh, yes, I'll get to that in just a second. And so it's an analog system to organize firings. I really wish that was online, and I also wish the kilns were part of the Internet of Things so that I could actually see what's the temperature when I'm at home, but that's not possible. Potters tend to be kind of techno peasants as well. And I had a question about the kilns. So the little soda kiln and the big soda kiln were just rebuilt because kilns wear out through time. See how this, and it's tough to compare them because they don't get the same sort of wear and tear. A gas kiln, a reduction kiln, doesn't get affected the way a soda kiln does, because the soda kiln has the soda pumped through it, and that cakes onto things. And the gas kilns, the reduction kilns, can survive much longer because they're not having extra chemicals added to them. And on the kilns, you also have these little air holes on the side, and when they're firing, flames will actually shoot out of there because the flames are looking for oxygen. And it'll reach outside the kiln to get that oxygen. And nifty on the inside, if you notice, they're kind of slanted, aiming towards the peephole. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast again. Don't want to make people sick. So, other than that, oh, nifty. Yep, the tops of the kilns are curved. A little bit more noticeable here. And there's a kiln god, keeping the kiln safe. And so those arches allow for just a little bit more room. Let's see if we can even notice it. It's a very subtle arch on the small soda kiln. The other kilns have things actually in them. So, that's an introduction to my kiln room that I have available, which is kind of nice. And I need to unload the kiln, get things set up so that we can talk about glazing in just a little bit. I hope you all have a marvelous morning, and I should be glazing probably in about, say, a half an hour or so. Take care. Have a fine morning. Up.